So we're going to look at metric benchmarks. Benchmarks help us kind of compare units and help visualize them so they can kind of make accurate estimations. So you can see in this kind of little table here, I'm just looking at the units of length, so kind of distance or measurement. So you get millimeter is about the thickness of a 10-cent piece. So you think of a 10-cent piece and the thickness of it, that's about a millimeter. So that helps me visualize how big a millimeter is. So if I had a house and I said the house was 10 millimeters tall, I would picture 10 of these dimes on top of each other. Say, no, there's no way a house can be 10 millimeters tall unless it's a tiny little toy house, a tiny little one. So it helps you kind of really make comparisons and visualize. So millimeters are kind of the smallest. Milli, centimeter, and kilometer are the ones we kind of generally use for length. So millimeter, centimeter, meter, and kilometer. They're the ones that we use for length. And there are other ones in between and after these, but these are generally the ones you should kind of know. So centimeter, that's the height of one of those small MAB blocks, the little cubes. So you can kind of think if I said something was 10 centimeters tall, it'd be 10 of those cubes piled on top of each other, which would be one of those rods. So you can picture, it's about a rod. If I said it was 30 centimeters tall, you picture 3 of those rods together. So these kind of help you visualize that. Meter, that's about the distance from the floor to the door handle. Or if you can picture a meter stick in your mind, how long that is, that can kind of help you with understanding like roughly how big a meter is. A kilometer is the distance you can walk in about 12 minutes. So it might be good for you to sometimes just kind of walk about 12 minutes from your house and get an idea, that's about a kilometer. It's also another way to visualize it is it's about 2.5 laps of one of those regular tracks. So the reason I'm kind of going over these benchmarks, one is to visualize, but also you're going to be doing a little quiz that will ask, it'll give different things and say, what would that be measured in? So if I said, my hand, how wide is my hand, let's say, would that be measured in millimeters, centimeters, meters, or kilometers? And normally you pick the measurement that is fits for that. So a meter is too big for my hand. So I wouldn't say it's a certain number of meters. I go to the next one down. So centimeters. If I go centimeters, yeah, I can fit more than 1 centimeter in the width of my hand. And so that would be what I would measure it in centimeters. Millimeters, I could do millimeters, but there's more millimeters. So centimeters would be the better choice of measuring my hand. If I was going to do the height of the house, then I wouldn't choose millimeters. They're too small. Wouldn't choose centimeters. If I choose meters, the house is more than 1 meter. Yeah, it's more than 1 meter, but it's less than the next thing, which is where we're looking at down here is kilometers. So I'm not going to measure it in kilometers because that's too much. So the best fit would be meters. And then maybe one more example. Let's say a paper clip. If I was going to measure a paper clip, I think, okay, is there a meter? Let's go for a meter. Meters are too big to measure a paper clip. So I go down to the next thing, centimeters. If there's a paper clip that I can fit more than 1 centimeter in, then I would probably measure it in centimeters. If it would happen to be something smaller than a centimeter, then I'd have to go to millimeters. But I would say a paper clip, I would measure that in centimeters. But if I was going to do the thickness of a paper clip, I'd have to do that in millimeters because a centimeter is too thick. So I go down to the next one, so I go millimeters. All right, so then let's go look at this. The next is capacity. Capacity is like the volume. And it's usually with liquids. So the 2 common ones that you'll see most often are milliliters and liters. Again, there still would be centiliters and there would be kiloliters and all that, but we don't really see a lot of things measured in that. So these are the most common ones. So milliliter, well, the milliliter is about the amount of liquid or water that would fit in one of those MAB unit blocks. So you can kind of picture that as 1 milliliter. But often I could kind of picture things as, okay, well, there's 250 milliliters in one of those juice boxes. And that gives you an idea. Then you get the 500 milliliter pop bottles, the tiny, smaller ones, up to the big liter ones. So you can see here a liter one. That would be, there's a liter pop bottle. So if I said this is about a liter, you can kind of picture in your head those liter pop bottles. Or the more common, I guess, would be the 2-liter pop bottles, which are the bigger ones. Okay, milk jugs, you can also picture those. There's like a 1 liter, there's a 2 liter, there's a 3 liter one, the bigger jugs. So you can kind of picture that's how much liquid it would be 3 liters in one of those bigger milk jugs. So if I said, I filled the bath with 3 liters of water, you'd say 3 liters of water, that's only one of those jugs, milk jugs. That's not enough water. So you'd know it'd have to be more than that. So again, for these, you're going to be doing a quiz that'll just ask, what certain containers would be measured in. So if it was the amount of water in a, let's say a glass of water, then you'd probably measure that in milliliters, unless it was a really, really big glass, a big jug, because a liter would be more than your regular kind of glasses of liquid. Last is units of mass. So it's kind of like weight. So we have grams and kilograms are the most common. There are ones in between, milligrams, centigrams, all those are in, there's a bunch in between. There's even hecto and decograms and all that, but the ones that are common are grams and kilograms for mass. And so there's about 4 grams of sugar in a teaspoon. So a flat teaspoon, not a heaping teaspoon, but one of those small spoons. There's about 4 grams of sugar. So that gives you an idea about roughly how much 4 grams is. And kilograms is the weight of water in about 1 liter water, like a water bottle or any kind of liquid bottle. So one of those 1 liter bottles, if you pick it up, it's about a kilogram. So that kind of gives you an idea for kilograms as well. So this next part of the test, you'll be given different types of measurements, and you have to say what you think they should be measured in.